There it is. It's time. POP Baking Club Cheesecake Week, part 1 of 2 parts. You guys are the POPers and you are in the Practice of Pastry Baking Club. Just by sheer magic of being together here on the internet, we are together. Cheesecake tonight. Yeah, we're doing cheesecake. All right, I'm going to start by getting ready. This is the POP Baking Club, and every week we do a new recipe. And on Sunday, you guys voted and you picked Rose Levy Beranbaum's cheesecake. And I haven't made this in years, but that's my oven. It's preheating. I know it's not ready. That's just telling me it thinks it is. But I have an oven thermometer in there, so I know it's baked with lovely. So I'm doing good. So excited for cheesecake. Me too, because it's not like I'm this huge cheesecake eater, but I know that this cheesecake is more of like a custard. And I think that it offers us a lot of opportunities to think about the ingredients. So when I get started, I want to talk about what's in it. I want you guys to start to predict some things about how the ingredients are going to work, how temperature affects it, and how moisture affects it, because she chooses specific ingredients for a reason. She wants a custard in the shape of a cake. And I did a bit of research, and there are a lot of types of cheesecake, and I know this one is very traditional in terms of not having mascarpone cheese in it and all that kind of stuff. Ooh, a little pop quiz. Yeah, I'm gonna ask you to start predicting some things, because when you look at a cheesecake recipe after today's class, I want you to look at the ingredients and say, well, that's interesting. Why does it have mascarpone cheese in it? Or why does it have yolks in it? Or why does it have cornstarch or not? So that's what we're gonna be talking about. And I'm gonna get dressed. I'm gonna do a fit check. I'm gonna pull my hair back as always and move the camera, and we're gonna get started. And we are doing, it's Wednesday, 6 p.m. We are doing our cheesecake tonight. All right, so let me go through that magic door. I'm gonna pull my hair up. I'm gonna come back, wash my hands, get my apron on, do a quick fit check, and we are going to make cheesecake. Really good Rose Levy Beranbaum cheesecake. I'm gonna bring a hair tie just in case things get crazy. All right, so my fit check's pretty simple. I almost wear the same thing every time. No jewelry, short fingernails, no nail polish, no jewelry, hair up, and I have basic clothes on that are safe to wear, and I always wear clogs. In the kitchen, I have my cheap aprons. This one actually, I think, so see, I saved them too. This is from when I went to the French pastry school. It was part of my uniform. And they had the logo on everything, the hat, the coat, and the apron. And so I saved them because they're nice and they're still very white. And I went to school, I graduated, let me pull down my back end. I graduated in 2014, look how white it is. So if any of you guys have seen my cleaning videos, I have a whites concoction that keeps whites really, really white. And sometimes you have to soak them. And all right, so am I ready here? I think I'm ready. All right, so I'm going to take my countertop. I've already cleaned it, but I'm going to sanitize it real quick. Earlier, I was scaling my eggs. I scaled 2 cheesecakes, the same one 2 times, because I'm gonna do one now, and then I'm gonna do one tomorrow, so that I have a couple, because I have some really exciting ways to cover and finish these cheesecakes. So Sunday's gonna be really fun. So we're gonna have some good ideas for Sunday. And let me wash my hands. The water here is always freezing, but I had it running to try to get it. I also want to say, I think I have a crazy angle. This angle is hard. I had fun doing last week's sponge cake, and it's interesting because if I were to do this cheesecake with lady fingers, the lady fingers would be made exactly the same way a sponge cake is made. So it kind of all ties together, which is really nice. All right, so my hands are clean. I'm gonna plug this in, and I have some exciting stuff that I've researched and ideas that you can use to take away that are helpful. Here are our ingredients for our cheesecake, because I'm gonna try to keep it moving. I'm a talker. So people always mention how I sound on my voiceovers. It's really just me trying to stay calm because I get kind of excited about everything. So I am here on TikTok twice a week, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I lecture a little bit on a specific recipe. This week is cheesecake. And then I do a demonstration. I'm going to demonstrate it and get in the oven. And then on Sunday, I come back at noon Eastern Standard Time because this cake is gonna go in the oven and then it has to sit for an hour and cool without the door being opened. And then I pull it out and it cools another hour or so and then it goes in the refrigerator. But just so you all know, these cheesecakes last 7 days in the refrigerator if they're wrapped properly. So it's a great recipe to do in advance. And I put it into the formulator. Many of you know, I taught myself how to bake for my cake business out of the Cake Bible. And so this is what the original Cake Bible looked. And I always really related to her chart. And it has, you know, ounces and then grams. It has measures, which are like a cup and tablespoon, and then ounces and then grams. And that was long before I ever used grams, but I always found ounces to be like wonky. I never liked them, so then I went with the cups and spoons. But it's a very simple recipe, and she puts it in an order. So one of the things I want you to think about is when you are looking at a recipe, it is typically in order of how you use it, and moreover, it should be grouped in that, like, these ingredients go in the bowl together, and then this next, and this next, and so on and so forth. This is how a lot of textbooks are written because visually it helps you keep score, and it's not even that hard, but it's obvious. So I converted her recipe, well, I used the grams she gave, and she didn't for like the salt, and it ended up being 1.5 grams, but I have a mini scale, so that's how I can do anything under 20 grams. So I looked it up in my Jessica Reed book and I filled it in. So these are the ones that I put into the formulator, but then this is the batch size. So if I wanted, I could make it bigger or smaller. And the total amount is 1,592 grams. And in this recipe, we have all of these ingredients, which I scale in advance. I first make a label, and on the label, which is a complete sentence, it is the story and it needs no explanation. In my kitchen, because I scaled it today, I did not put a date on here. But if I'm going to scale more than one recipe, or I'm going to do it for tomorrow, it's going to have the date as well. And everything I put into the cooler or store, I put a date on when it's made or when I open it. So even for here, you can see that I haven't cut my lemon yet because I want to use fresh squeezed lemon juice for this recipe, which literally means at the last moment. But I do it because this helps me remember, and it's on my lid, and I scale for my lids. Am I a food scientist? Well, if I am, I'm self-appointed. I'm a pastry chef who's gotten deeply interested in ingredient function. And when I teach, I taught at the college level for more than 12 years. And I've taught certificate programs, and I've been in the industry a long time. What I teach people is how to think like their ingredients, because now I'm announcing that I'm doing a chocolate chip cookie extravaganza, and a lot of people are already asking, can you do a cookie that doesn't need to rest? Can you do a cookie, that I can do fast, or these, and all I can say is, I'm going to investigate the cookies, but I'm going to do what all of the ingredients tell me to do. The ingredients need to rest, they're gonna rest. So I don't decide what the ingredients do. They tell me what they need. So I scaled everything in advance, and it's been sitting out getting to room temperature. And what I do when I start baking is I pull out my tray of all my ingredients that I've scaled in advance, and I pull them out looking at my recipes to make sure that I haven't made a mistake. And believe me, I catch mistakes all the time. I have a bunch of other recipes over there. Maybe I accidentally put something on the wrong one. Maybe I just transposed one of the tapes. I don't know, but I make mistakes a lot. This step is not an extra step. It is a step that helps me stay on track so that I have success and I don't get frustrated. And it really helps me. So I'm going to go through real quick. And if you are looking for this recipe right now on TikTok, it is on my link tree at the top. And it's part of the POP Baking Club Cheesecake Week. And it should be right at the top of my link tree, and you can print it out. And I always recommend people take notes. I also went through and did some brief notes on the ingredients, the method, and some of the functions and things of the ingredients that are in this cheesecake. These are on Substack. So you can get written information to support all of this on Substack. And then after I do this whole live, I edit it and I put it on YouTube so you can watch it back. So if you miss any of these classes, you can go back and watch them and just bake it another time. And those recipes like this are going to live on my Linktree. The only thing I have to tell you is I do everything in grams and I use 2 scales, a regular digital scale, and I also use a mini scale, which is like a jewelry scale, and they're like $9.99. And I have one on my Linktree that you can look up and you can get them very cheap, and I would make the conversion. I'm going to make a pitch for that. All right, so we're going to start here. All right, so here we go. In order of how I'm going to be adding these to the mixer, and you can do this in a food processor, and if you don't have either one, you can do it with a hand mixer. It's just going to take a little bit longer, and you're going to want to make sure to use a bigger bowl. These bowls are kind of narrow, so you're probably going to want something a little bit wider because you need a little space, okay? All right, so we've got 453 grams, 0.6, of cream cheese. And just so you know, that's a pound right there. And one of the great things about putting it in deli cups is that if this were only a little bit, visually I'd be like, uh-oh, what did I do? Maybe I only did half a pound on accident. So visually, this helps me a lot. So I've got cream cheese and I have sucrose, 200 grams. Sucrose is table sugar, and I call it that because I've got about 25 sugars in my kitchen. And it's how I was trained, and that simplifies. And I'm going to put these together because they're going to go in here together. And visually, this will help me group and categorize my ingredients. Now, I'm going to make this cheesecake today, and then I'm going to make it again tomorrow. And tonight, I'm going to use the cornstarch. But tomorrow, I'm not, so I can compare texture, and I will talk about what does cornstarch do in this recipe. And right now, especially if you have the pen and you have a piece of paper, write down, what do you think the cornstarch does from an ingredient function level in this recipe? What is its job? Who's it going to fight with to get what it needs? Okay? I use these, see back here, my stack of small, medium, and large delis with lids. I reuse those until they fall apart. I don't really microwave them. They are designed for cold ingredients, not the hot kind of deli cups, because those are really thick. But I reuse them forever, and they're very convenient for me. And I don't have any other plastic. I'm not into other plastic containers except my Cambros. Do you do this as a career? I want to go to pastry school, but I'm scared. I taught baking and pastry at the college level for 3 different schools, and I've also taught certificate programs. There's nothing to be afraid of, and you can DM me if you want, and I am happy to give you some advice. But I've been in the food industry since I was 15, and I was self-taught forever, and I mean until my 40s when I went back to school. And then I got an associate's degree in baking, and I got a certificate from the French pastry. So don't be afraid, but I think you should stage and you should get into a baker. I don't know what you're doing, but if you want to, you can DM me. You're guessing binder, a thickener, probably keeps the filling firm. Okay, so I'm going to push you a little bit. I like the concepts that you guys are coming up with. I want you to go deeper. When I say something emulsifies or something makes it stiff or whatever, what do you mean? What is this doing? And you can go to my Substack and look at the notes, and it'll give you some hints. But think about, what is it doing? What about cornstarch thickens? Have you ever thought about that? What is it that it's doing? What is it taking away from the other ingredients? And where is it getting moisture to thicken? So think about those kind of things. All right, so next on my ingredients, so these guys go together. And then in this recipe, because I scale my eggs, I estimate at 50 grams per egg. I crack what I need, estimate it wise, and then I stir them up. This is 150 grams of egg. If each egg is about 50 grams, which mine aren't because I get them from the farmer, some are little and some are huge. So this is what my eggs look like, and they're going to go over here, and they're room temperature. And then I'm going to have to squeeze the lemon juice at 47 grams, but I already wrote it down. So once I start and I look at all my ingredients, I've already got my recipe. And if I know the method, I'm familiar with it, I don't need this anymore. I'm just using it as a checklist right now. So with the lemon, I'm going to, and I know this during the process, I'm going to be adding my vanilla. And I switched vanilla extract to vanilla bean paste just because I love all those specks of vanilla bean. And then salt, and I use fleur de sel or sea salt. If you use kosher, you can't do like a teaspoon of kosher and a teaspoon of table salt or sea salt is the same. You have to do it by weight. And this is 1.5 grams. And then I have sour cream. And this is where this recipe gets crazy. This is 726 grams of sour cream. And normally if you have 500 grams of something, you fill up this deli cup. But because sour cream is so dense, it's like didn't even fill up the one deli. That's interesting to me. What lives inside sour cream? What lives inside cream cheese? And I will tell you, this is Philadelphia cream cheese, so there are no gums. There's no guar gum or any gums. Just so you know, fillers. It's really, I read the ingredient label. It's just cream. It binds the cheesecake better. What do you mean bind? Bind how? And I want you to think like, kind of like, I think in terms of one thing plus another equals this and that. What in the cornstarch plus what equals binding? How is it binding and what is it binding to? Is it binding to the sucrose? Is it binding to the egg? If it is binding to the egg, what is it binding to in the egg? Because let's not forget, these might look like whole foods, but in them are many other things. This is cultured, the sour cream is cultured. An egg has protein, lecithin, it has water. So these all have different things. So, okay, so then the sucrose goes where? It goes in the beginning. Okay, so I'm gonna put this out of my way. And I don't know if you can see this, but I put all my tools here that I need. I pull them in advance so I don't have to run around my kitchen. And I'm going to squeeze my lemon into a mini scale. This is my mini scale. The thing fell off. I don't care. I have a bunch of these. And I put this on the countertop. I put the deli cup on here and I turn it on and tare it. And then I'm going to cut this lemon. Actually, I'm going to use a little deli cup because I'm going to use this guy. Watch this. Put this like that. This can go right in the refrigerator. Okay, but right now I need 47 grams. Let me see if this little amount, sometimes I estimate how much lemon I'm going to need. It might not be enough, but I think it's going to be. So I'm going to scale right into my little deli cup. Oh yeah, ooh, I just squirted myself. I think I'm going to need more. So let me get a little bit more and compost this. Ooh, it went right in my face. Usually I'm the one at the table when I go out to eat, someone else squeezes a lemon into a drink and it always goes right in my face. I don't know why. Binding to the water in the egg, it does. I think it's pulling moisture from the wet ingredients because it's so dry. It is pulling moisture from the other ingredients. It's not pulling it because it's dry. It's pulling it because the starches, the molecules that make up cornstarch, start to fall apart when they start to open up when they get moist, and then the heat makes it so that, ooh, the lemon is stinging my face. Makes it so that all the liquids that it's holding onto it starts to thicken them. So there's a reaction that's sort of like a chain of events. All right, I gotta pay attention. Oh, geez, I really don't like this new, I just bought this squeezer and I do not like it. I'm like making a huge mess. And I absolutely should have gotten plenty out of one. Okay, all right, there we go. Now I have too much, okay. So anyway, let's get this out of the way. So I've made a mess, squirted myself in the face. So I used a spoon to take out what I need. I need 47 grams, exactly. And it kind of is important how you scale. Oh, no, I'm down to 40. This is a very sensitive scale. I'm actually gonna take this and throw it in a drink of mine in the fridge for later. Okay, let me get a clean towel out of here. Clean up a little. I've made a mess. Cut side down. I do put the cut side down. You know, I just bought it and I don't know. I don't love it. But that's okay. No harm, no foul, right? I mean, I hate buying tools when I can't hold them. But I also don't like the squeezers that do both. I just don't. I don't like the ones that are like lemon and lime. Do you guys? Do you make savory foods too? What's your favorite thing to make? I do make savory foods, but I've been so busy doing all of this that I haven't been cooking very much. More than probably any time in my life, I haven't been cooking a lot. And typically, one of my favorite things to make is soup, and I like making salads. Very much I like making soup. All right, so we're gonna make this. I'm gonna get it in the oven, but I wanna show you a couple of things. So this is my pan that I'm gonna use, and I am not using a springform pan. This is called a loose bottom pan, and you guys know how much I love Crown cookware. So I bought this a while ago when we started talking about doing this. All right, so you guys know I love Crown cookware. I talk about the pans that I have. I've literally bought them 30 years ago when I started doing cake decorating. And this I bought recently when I made the order for my little 4-inch pans for the brownie extravaganza. When you guys we talked about doing a cheesecake and I ordered my little 4-inch pans, I was like, ooh, they have a cheesecake pan. I do not have a springform pan and I don't really love them. They leak and blah, blah, blah. So this has a removable bottom. Now that does not mean it's not gonna leak. It doesn't mean that water can't get in here, okay? You can take aluminum foil and wrap this, but you have to do it twice. If you've ever used aluminum foil and water gets through, it's apparently because that's how aluminum foil is made, water can still get through it. So rather than have the springform pan, I have the loose bottom pan. So when this is all done being baked, I'm gonna put it on top of a tall, narrow something or other, like maybe this. And then you just do this, and then the cake comes out like that, the cheesecake, all right? So I really like this, and this is the pan that I wanna bake it in, okay? And you can see how it has a ring from other times that I did a water bath, and it ruined my pan. So Rose Levy suggests that you put cream of tartar in the water so that it doesn't discolor your pan. So don't ruin your pans, because this is what'll happen. Use a pinch or half a teaspoon of cream of tartar in this, and it should prevent it from discoloring your pans. So I'm gonna be using, okay, so here's what we do. For this pan, to prepare the pan, I'm going to be shoving it into this silicone baking mold, and it doesn't really fit because this is an 8 and this is an 8, but I'm gonna shove it in here. So this silicone pan is gonna become a liner. And so I'm not going to wrap it in tin foil. I'm going to use this. The water won't seep in here because I'm not going to fill the water up higher than this, and it's silicone. Okay, but if you do use aluminum foil, just wrap it twice, and it still could leak a little bit, just to know. It could seep a little bit. Yeah, a lot of springform pans, they just don't work for me. I've had a ton of them, and I'm sick of them. So, all right, so this is how I line the bottom of a pan. This is like a 1/4 sheet. I cut my full sheet parchment, which is all I buy, into half sheets, which is all I use. And then I cut those into smaller amounts. So what I want to do is fit it in here, and I'm not going to cut a circle because I don't waste time. But I want it to fit on here. So what I'm going to do is make a square that fits. So I'm just going to fold it. You guys see me work? I'm going to fold it until it fits. And then I'm going to cut it with a knife. I'm just going to make sure it fits. And it's just a rectangle. And it does not go all the way to the edge. And this is all I need to prevent it from sticking. It's really just to release the center. You never need to shove parchment in there or get it all mushied on the edge, because then you get an ugly edge. So let me get my knife, because I'm going to cut this. So I use a chef's knife to cut my parchment. And is this the right size? Okay, so that's my little rectangle that's going to serve as the bottom of my pan. Then if you think about a cheesecake, we don't want to add flour. This is like flourless. We don't want flour and oil, a spray or flour and butter mixture. It is a handy tip. I took as many tips as I could find. I looked around, I read all my old notes, I went back to the drawing board, and here we are. So what we want to do is put oil in here. So when you bake a cheesecake, it's going to pull away from the edges as it dries. If it sticks, then the inside is going to sink and crack, and then the outside is going to be stuck. So we want to use, I'm using a neutral oil, but if just like grapeseed oil, it's neutral flavored, it doesn't taste like anything, but you could use a cooking spray if you want to. All right, so I'm going to get this in here first, and then I'm going to do the oil, and it really doesn't fit, so it's going to be a slight bit of an experiment. Now we are not going to put the water in here And we're not going to put the water in and then the pan. We are going to get this ready. This is going to be oiled. We're going to put it in and then we're going to pour the batter into here or else it's going to float around. So we don't want it to float around. That would be bad. Let me see if I can pull this down a little bit faster. I was thinking of warming this up so I could stretch it. I'm just going to do this. Oh, isn't that amazing? Go from Montreal, from Italy, from California, Jamaica, London. This is just a fabulous, fabulous experience. Okay, so I think that's good. I was sort of looking for it not to be bowed. Okay, so I'm going to put this in here. It's my Crown cookware bottom for my loose bottom pan. And again, Crown cookware is in Canada. It's called a cheesecake pan. I think it's great, but I haven't used it yet, so I'll let you know tonight how it goes. So I'm going to take the neutral oil and a little bit of paper towel, and I am going to oil the bottom and the sides. Now, I do not have plans to do a crust, but I do on videos. So I'm going to be making graham cracker crust from scratch using whole wheat flour and Lyle's golden syrup and butter. All right, so I don't want to overdo it. I just want to picture that this does not stick. I don't want it to stick. And when I pull it out after it's been in the refrigerator overnight, if I want, I can torch the metal part to loosen it, kind of like, you know, I can do that if it sticks and if I have to. All right, so that is ready. I'm just gonna put it aside in the larger pan. So on the paddle, this goes really, really fast. On the paddle, we are gonna start with the cream cheese. And the cream cheese, we're just gonna paddle on low. Now, none of this can you add a ton of air to, but you still don't wanna whip it on high. You wanna do it on low and medium. That way we get it incorporated. Now, I pull all my labels off and I save them. Okay, I'll just put them right here so you can see them. This way, I don't lose track. If I make a mistake or I'm like, uh-oh, did I add something? Or, because believe it or not, we all forget. Things get forgotten. So, all right, so my cream cheese goes in first. Tell you one of the most exciting things that happened this week is I ordered these spatulas because I've been having trouble replacing some of the spatulas. So this is the first time of me using these, but I ordered these way back last year. They've been on back order, and I ordered like 4 of them, so they just came in. So it'll be interesting to see if I like them. So the cream cheese is room temp. In the cream cheese, let's see what the numbers are on cream cheese. So I'm just going to put it on low. Cream cheese, according to my notes, which you can find on Substack, has 33% milk fat and a 55% moisture content. And a lot of times these amounts are set by your government. So they're different in every country. So if you don't have this exact thing, what you do is you don't just look for the name of something else. You look for what is like it and what has around 55% moisture and 33% milk fat. So we have a lot of water in this recipe. If I were to put graham cracker crust in the bottom of my pan, or lady fingers, which I think I'd like to make, or a sponge cake, it's going to soak up some of that moisture. But if I want this to be creamy, I want a good emulsion. And we talk about emulsion a lot. We're going to do that through going slow, through keeping everything warm, through making sure it's combined until we move to the next step, because we want a really creamy product that goes in the oven, because that way, as it chills and as it sits, the cornstarch helps us hang on to the water. If you think about how food deteriorates, let's just say it's a piece of fruit. When does a piece of fruit get old? When you start noticing that it's gathering moisture, right? And then bacteria is invited in. When you whip cream or eggs, it all looks great, and then the water starts to seep out. The cornstarch is like an insurance policy against that happening. So this is still kind of cold because my kitchen is cold. And we are going to scrape quite a bit, but let me show you what's going on in the bowl. That's what it looks like. So when it gets caught around the middle, I just hit it just to knock off what's in the center there. And then I'm going to scrape it. because this is still pretty firm. Now, that's pretty light. You can tell it's kind of coming off. So your best friend oftentimes is the ability to just scrape things, because rather than continuing to paddle it, you know, scraping kind of offers us this in-between where we're not overworking anything. Not that we can overwork this, but there it is. See, now it's going to mix up a little nicer. So we have fat. Cream cheese is a dairy. We know that it has lactose, which is the sugar that lives in dairy. It has protein. These things add flavor. They help it. What else is in there? It adds a lot of flavor and also has more water than I ever imagined, so I find that very interesting. Okay, so let's see. We've got, this needs to be just loose. And once it's loose, we're going to add the sucrose, which is the table sugar, and I'm going to take off the label and I'm going to add it next to the cream cheese. And it's going to keep it on the same speed, but I'm still only going to add a third. A lot of people ask me, why do I add things in thirds? Just letting it get to know each other. Why would I dump it all in when then I'm going to have chunks of cream cheese not adhering to the sucrose? Like, just give it time. Just go slow. I don't know what the water and the fat content in goat cheese is, so you would have to look. I think that's why a lot of times they use mascarpone cheese. But if you want it to be closest to that, like new flatulence and those kind of things, you're going to look for 33% milk fat and 55% water. And you can just look it up or go to the manufacturer's website and look it up. All right, well this is fascinating. Let me show you what's going on in the bowl. Right away, look at that. It's already much fuller and much looser. Now part of that is because sucrose is, our table sugar has a certain size grain. And sugar is kind of defined by the size of the grain or the size of the mill. And this sugar, just like when you cream butter for any baking or let's say a cookie, the sugar is going to cut little holes in the cream cheese. And in those little holes, we're going to form air cells. And remember, air cells don't develop later. They only develop in the bowl. So if you don't develop them now, you'll have fewer air cells. And we don't need this to be airy because it is a custard, but that is kind of what's going on, okay? You saw it get a little airier. All right, what's next? So once this is in, it doesn't take long, I'm gonna add the, you know what? The cornstarch is gonna go in now as well. And I have 8 grams of cornstarch. And do you see what just, I'm going to show you what just happened. I was like, why didn't I put the sugar in? I did put the sugar in because here's my tape. This is for tomorrow's recipe. I'm going to go put it over here. Yep, that's the sugar for tomorrow's recipe. And that is why this system is ingenious. 33% milk and 55% water in the cream cheese. So you want to match that up somehow. You don't want to, it doesn't have to be exact, but that's why I say when people are like, can I sub out a certain flour? The only thing you need to know is what is the protein content, because I don't care what they call the flour. There are all-purpose flours that have the same protein content as pastry flour, so you have to look into it. All right, so this is getting nice and soft. I should have, and I do recommend that you take the cornstarch and shake it in with the sucrose, and I should have done that. And I'm hoping I don't get chunks. But that is what I should have done. And I'm not going to worry about getting it all out because I think it's plenty. All right. And I may scrape. So let's see. So you want to take the cornstarch and put it in with your sugar, and you can put it in a little bit bigger deli and then shake it up. I haven't seen lessons in chemistry, but everyone's told me about it and I need to. Thank you. I mean, I hear it's great and people, it sounds like a compliment. Okay, so in here right now we've got the cream cheese, the sucrose, and the cornstarch, okay? And according to my directions, the next thing, and I don't know, I should move the eggs below here is what I should do. So next I'm going to add the lemon juice, vanilla, and the salt. And I'm going to pull them over here because they're already in my deli cups. I'm going to pull off the labels. I'm going to pull off the lid. All right, I'm going to look at these. I have 3 different things. This is like thick. This is very sloshy. And this is salt, right? I'm going to go ahead and put the salt in there because I know it's going to get absorbed. But because I have this fat thing going on in here, I don't want to just throw all the lemon in there. And the lemon isn't cold, but it's not warm either. And things tend to like each other more if they're the same temperature or closer in temperature, and warm never hurts. So what I'll do is lift this up, and you can kind of see that I have parts of the paddle that are not incorporated. So I need to do a quick, good scrape, and one way you can do, and it works very well, is to take the paddle and just go around the bowl. And this works really well. And I do this a lot, especially if it's a light batter. If it's really heavy, that's kind of hard to do, and then I'll pull out the spatula. But this is what this looks like. It's nice and soft, and I'm going to pull in the things that aren't incorporated. They're just a little firmer. You can see they look more like cream cheese. So you don't have to go overboard. According to Rose Levy Beranbaum, it will come together. So you take your time, or you move a little faster, whatever you want. I don't think you want chunks ever. So if I feel any cream cheese that's really standing out, I'm just going to make sure it's pushed in there. So there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and get my vanilla out of here now. And I'm going to add the lemon juice because it's so liquidy in while it's mixing. And I'm going to do it really slow and make sure that it's getting incorporated. So I want to get all the vanilla bean paste. Number 1, it's really expensive. Number 2, it's beautiful, and I don't want to waste any. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure. So I'll tell you what I like about this spatula so far that I noticed. It's very firm, and while that might not be desirable right this second, it's going to be because they always soften up. So I think I'm going to end up liking this spatula. I thought it was like the exact one I have, but I think it's just a little different model. All right, so I'm going to show you while I start the mixer for fun. All right, so there's the vanilla bean. Watch how pretty it is when it gets mixed in. I just love. All right, so I'm gonna, oh, so pretty. I'm gonna turn it up just to medium, and then I'm gonna show you how the lemon goes in slowly and what happens. A little bit at a time. It's actually incorporating nicely. Everything should go slow. There's no rush. So the batter loosened up just a little more. Look how glossy it is. So cream cheese has a lot of water in it, and when you start moving it around, it kind of falls apart. So you can sort of see once it's released, because before it was connected. Cream cheese is, connected. It's a chunk. It's thick, delicious, love it. But now that I've paddled it a little bit, it's not that it expressed the water so it's sloshing around the bowl, but it did separate the connection, the emulsion that it had, okay? So I want to taste this just to see what we're working with. Bet you it's good. So what is the ingredient function of the lemon? Okay, so when you say it cuts the sweetness, what do you mean specifically? How does lemon cut sweetness? Function of lemon to bring out or activate other ingredients. Sometimes it is, but we don't have anything that needs an acid like baking soda or baking powder. Yeah, as soon as I added the lemon juice, it loosened quite a bit. So now what I'm going to do is, this is paddled, it looks good. I'm going to add the eggs next, and then I'm going to end with this vast quantity of sour cream, okay? So I've got the eggs. I stir all the eggs together after I've estimated how many I need, and then I scale them out. So I scaled them out, and I have 150 grams. So I'm going to show you as I pour it in. I'm right-handed, so I have to do it this way. I'm not going to pour with my left and video. All right, so I'm going to pour just a little bit. So this is going to go in thirds. Now you can see a little bit how it's separating, but it's actually not bad if you ask my opinion. So I'm going to stop it. And I'm going to scrape using the paddle. So I don't need to go crazy. I just kind of want to help it. And can you see that on the paddle, how some of these things are not incorporated? So I'm just going to push them down. You know, so there's manual mixing, there's mechanical mixing, and you just kind of need to think about what you want it to do. I did add the sugar at the beginning. That was one of the first ones. If you don't have the recipe, it's on my link tree, so go look at it because it's still there and you can get it now. So I'm going to add a little more. So lemon actually balances sweetness. So when you have too much bitter, you can balance it by using salt. If you have real sweet creaminess that's cloying, ends up coating the tongue, and dulls your sense of taste, lemon, the acid in lemon breaks that up. And it also has a lot of water in it. And the last thing we end, and I'm taking way longer than you need to. It doesn't hurt it, I'm just telling you, don't think this is a long, difficult recipe, because it isn't. You know what, you can taste the lemon, which I think is a good thing. And there is vanilla in it, and vanilla is one of those like flat flavors. It's really good, but it's like warm. So you're always balancing tart with sweet, creamy with an acid to break it up, bitter with salty, salty with sweet. And this is so creamy that you need to keep that in mind. And then look how liquid, it's pretty liquidy. But it's also, you know, this is a custard cake, basically. And the custard, they're stirred custards. And I just have done a lot of those. A stirred custard is an anglaise or a pastry cream. You stir it while the eggs cook. Now, if I can't get all the ingredients off of my paddle, I want to make sure that I get them in there. You can either use a gloved hand, and you'll see a lot of pros do this. But because this is still getting baked, I will take my hands and push this to the bottom, just to make sure that I've gotten all the cracks and crevices out of the paddle, okay? I don't like touching food. I like to leave it alone, but sometimes you have to. So the last thing, so this is mixed, and it looks great. So the last thing we're going to add is the sour cream. So I wouldn't leave the lemon out, and I did an exam once, and I made an agar lemon cream that you put in the refrigerator, and after 30 minutes you could pick it up and then make it a layer. So it worked really well for a 4-hour exam. This is a custard, and when it goes in the oven, the eggs are going to coagulate very, very slowly. That's a custard. This doesn't have baking powder in it. It doesn't have any leavener. It's not meant to be aerated. It's meant to be creamy and custardy. And the way you keep something from being overly eggy, cooking too hard, being weird, is to cook it really slow. And that's where the bain-marie comes in. I leave the ingredients on the counter depending on the weather, because if it's really, really hot, it's only going to need a little while. Today they've been out since, I would say it's 6 p.m. here. I'd say they've been out for 5 hours. But if it were warm, maybe only 3. So I'm going to turn this on, and can you see all the water in there? Can you see that water separating? Maybe I'll pull this over here so you can see. So let me look at my notes. How much water? Sour cream has 74% or less water. Look how much water is in there. So that is why cornstarch is helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and tap some of this in here. And just go very slowly. And then I will stop and add it with the, so you can see lumps forming. That's fine. And Rose Levy says they will cook out, but I'm going to make sure they're blended in. So that's what it looks like right now, and I'm going to put the camera down so I can scrape it a little bit. But you can see some lumps from the sour cream. So I'm going to get it all in there. We're going to be ready to pour it into the pan, and I'm going to show you how to do the bain-marie. So let's get all of this out of here. It's so weird to use a new spatula. Oh my gosh, sometimes. New spatulas throw me off. Shouldn't use new tools first time. All right, I'm teaching. Let me clean this up off the counter because I don't want to lose any. And that is why having a sanitized counter is really important. In case things like this happen, and I don't want to lose too much. Let's get this, it even went up there. All right, so I'm gonna scrape the edges a little bit, and then we're just gonna mix it for a second. It's gonna go in the pan. This has egg in it. That is basically, it's not our leavener because we're not leavening. It is what is going to set the custard. And when we pull it out of the oven, you're gonna bake it for 50 minutes, turn off the oven, leave the door closed, leave it for an hour, and then pull it out, put it on a cooling rack, leave it till it's 100% cool. You're gonna put plastic wrap on it, not to touch, and I'll show you how to do that because it's gonna have condensation, so you can use a paper towel and I'll show you how. It's going to set because of the eggs, but it's gonna be jiggly out of the oven, but in the refrigerator it's gonna firm up. So it's gonna be so creamy. If none of you have ever had this recipe, it's insane. It's different than any other one. It's really good. It's very custardy. Yeah, so that's why I picked it. And anytime we do a recipe, I'm gonna do my best to pick something unusual. I'm not gonna say I'm doing a cheesecake and have it just be like what you think. I want you to imagine that when someone like Rose Levy Beranbaum makes a recipe and she explains it, it's because it's elevated or it's different because she has considered what she wants to have happen. She wants it so light and creamy and crazy that this is what she does to get there. She made the recipe to suit her desired outcome. This will be good, I know it will, so I'm gonna get the batter off of here. I don't wanna lose any of this batter. So think about the tanginess of the sour cream, the cream cheese, the lemon, the salt, the vanilla. Now I'm gonna take all my ingredients off of my countertop because I know they're all in there. I really stuck them on there. I'll put my labels over there. I'm gonna pull this bowl off of here and I will show it to you in 1 second, but I'm gonna move my mixer out of the way. I'm gonna clean this up better later, but I did splooch on it, so shame on me. So I have my oven set to 345 because according to my oven thermometer, 345 turns my oven into 350, and you want it to be 350. Clean up. I am actually going to switch to a different spatula because I don't want to make a mess and I want to be comfortable. My tools are like an extension of my hands, and it is hard to use a new tool. In your opinion, a cheesecake is undercooking a little and letting it finish via carryover cooking. And I will tell you, there is a general idea that undercooking is something that people do to get to the texture you want. And what I learned, not only at school, but in all of my research is, you have to find a formula that gets you to the results that you want that are not underbaked. It's still dialed in. Nothing should be underbaked unless that's how you like it. So one example is a chocolate lava cake. Let me get my spatula I'm comfortable with. Chocolate lava cake, a lot of people think is a chocolate cake that is underbaked. I have a recipe and it's on my profile page that it comes out perfectly because that is how it is designed. So you do want to find a recipe that is designed to give you what you want, not to underbake, because underbaking is a variation. So I would say you need to dial something in. And that's just something I would say. And of course you can do whatever works for you. I want you to be successful in your own kitchen. Okay, so I have, the edges need to be cleaned up, so I'm going to clean. Not only am I going to clean, but I'm just going to tilt it a little, and I'm just going to verify, just by lifting it up a little bit, that I do not have any unfinished business at the bottom of the bowl, which is where it always hides. So this is what it looks like. Look how creamy. Okay, because what you're looking for is none of the lighting is so bad. you're looking to see that it's emulsified, that there are no broken bits, okay? And even if there are, it's fine, but that's your goal. Like, that's your goal. That's gonna give you a really beautiful, and it's just so pretty. You see that? And it's very loose, okay? So this is going in my pan. So here's what we're gonna do. This is the pan that has the loose bottom that I put a silicone pan around. Now I do wish it would go up higher, but I'm not gonna overthink it. I really don't wanna use aluminum foil. This pan is about this much bigger, okay? I'm going to put this in the pan, add the batter, and I'm going to take you with me. I need to get some water. I have a hot water heater here. You can use hot water out of your sink. You can get the hottest water out of your sink that you can get, but I'm just gonna use this because it's convenient for me. I'm gonna fill this up. After we get the batter in there and we put it in the oven, because I think it's dangerous to walk around the kitchen with hot water sloshing around, then we're gonna pour the water into the pan. I'm gonna add a little bit of cream of tartar so I don't ruin my pans. And then we're gonna set the timer for 60 minutes and let it bake. And then I'm gonna turn the oven off. If I had lady fingers or anything that would brown, I would use tin foil later to make sure nothing gets overly browned. I'm guesstimating how much water I'm going to need. So if you fill this up and then put water in here, this is gonna float around in your pan, and you don't wanna do that. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put the pan into the center where I want it. I'm going to take, this is only gonna rise up 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch, so I can get as high as I want. I don't have anything on the sides. I don't have a bottom. This is just a plain cheesecake. I'm gonna make this thing look good. I've got some really great ideas of how to finish this. So I'm gonna pour it in. You can see how liquid it is. It looks beautiful. You can use vanilla extract, but I used vanilla bean paste because I personally am obsessed with vanilla bean specks. I just think they're so pretty. Okay, let's clean out our bowl. All right. I am just going to tap it and use a little vibration to smooth it out. But I will tell you, there are some bubbles, all right? If you've ever made a ganache or a glaze and you want to get rid of the bubbles on the entremet or whatever, a little torch never hurt anybody. So I'm gonna put the torch on, and I'm just gonna knock some of the bubbles out. There aren't that many, but if you end up with gigantic bubbles because of the way you mixed, you can just hit them with a torch. Okay, so I'm gonna take you over here with me and my hot water. I think I'll set you up right here. Here is my oven. So the square parchment is on the bottom of my pan. It was on the bottom of the pan. It better have been. Guess I'll find out later. All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna bring this over. I'm actually gonna set you so you can see the water. Yeah, there's only 3 parchment there, so I'm almost 100% sure it's in there, but you know, you never know. With me, you never know. I get a little kooky. Sometimes I forget things. That's why I'm so obsessed with, you know, making sure that I've got things organized, because I commonly have problems, and I don't want problems. Okay, let's see. So I don't want to let a ton of heat out, so I'm going to work pretty quickly. But my water is really, really hot. Got my oven thermometer in there. And I don't want to slosh it around, so I'm going to put it toward the edge and fill it up. And I'm not going to go higher than the silicone. And this is an insulator. Silicone's an insulator. The water's an insulator. Okay, so I have that water almost up to the edge, and then I'm going to take some cream of tartar. I'm going to estimate Put that in there. And I'm going to put this in the center of my oven. There we go. And I'm going to set the timer. Let me get it right in the center. Okay, it does not look like I spilled. Let's hope I didn't. Okay, 60 minutes. Wait, actually, I wrote it down. It could be 50. I'm just going to do 50 and then I'll check. Okay. So I have to check everything. All right, so I have the cream of tartar's done. The water's done. What else is done? Woohoo! All right, I think I've got it all going on. I'm going to turn the light off to save on energy, and then I have some stuff to talk about with the recipe, and we can answer questions, and perfect. So let me see real quick what my notes say. Yeah, so it should be at 50 minutes. That's what I thought. Okay. All right, so I'm going to show you a couple things that are either going to go on it or with it that are interesting. I'm going to take off my apron. And we are going to have a conversation. I am so excited. I'm going to get a drink. Let's see. See, this is the soda that I use the bitters for. So I just put club soda over ice, and then I use bitters, and I love them. I think I'll do like a lemon lime. I put lemon in here, so that would be good. I like these sodas, Poppy. They have stevia in them, but it's only 35 calories. And I don't drink soda, even though I love it. I love sugar, but it does not love me. All right. So, and then why use aluminum foil to prevent browning? So here are a couple things you can do. You can take raw graham cracker and fill this up and then bake it, and then pour your cheesecake batter over a par-baked or mostly baked crust. Or you can take ladyfingers and you can line them up around the edge, and when it gets filled with the batter, they look really pretty, but they stick above the cream cheese cake, and they get brown. They look like a crown, and they get brown. So if they're getting brown, you just kind of tent it so they don't brown. And it's usually just in the last 10 minutes of baking, so it's not for the whole time. Will fresh ginger work in a cheesecake batter for lemon ginger? Yes, it will. What do you think are some of the things you would want to be aware of with ginger? There are a lot of things, and most of it's moisture, but if I were adding ginger flavor, and you don't want to just, that's why I hate it when people just sprinkle cinnamon straight onto a drink. It's like nobody wants that powder in their mouth. That's a dryer, right? And powdered ginger is a dryer. But what if, and it's also acidic, so it can curdle the cream. But are there other ways to get the flavor in there? Can you steep something? And so let's troubleshoot that. Let's think about it. You could use candy ginger, chop it up and steep it, bring it to a boil and then let it steep and, research it a little bit. You could, and there's so many things you can do with fat. Now I have other recipes that use cream, but you have to be aware of the sugar that's included. Is it an acidic ingredient? So is it going to pre-coagulate or curdle your dairy? You can make a ginger simple syrup, but then how would you use the simple syrup? It's 50% water. So where are you adding it? Because you're using sucrose, and you need that sucrose to be the way it is. You don't want liquid sugar. So where are the ingredients? Let's look at the recipe. You could do a ginger sugar, infuse the lemon syrup. But where are you using the lemon syrup? So the lemon juice, maybe you could use ginger juice instead of the lemon. You could have it concentrated, but you still have to account for what moisture you're adding. And what is that going to do to the whole batter, to the sugar, to, all the water. Maybe you could use a drier sour cream. Maybe you could use a cheese that's drier, mascarpone or whatever, look it up, or strain your sour cream and then replace. Yes. I think But candied ginger, you could steep into some of your fats and then strain it out. But that has sugar in it. So, I mean, we're getting there. We're getting there. Maybe we are using sucrose in its dry format. We don't want moisture in there. The sucrose is hygroscopic, so it's actually going to grab, it's the bully. It gets all the moisture before everybody else does. That's why the sugar's so good for this wet recipe. So you can't steep it because that would imply melting it or something, but you could infuse it. Like I have vanilla sugar. That's dry. So we need to find something dry. A pulverized ginger is not a bad idea. You could take powdered ginger if it's really fresh and delicious and lovely and add it to your sucrose. I just want to make sure that it doesn't turn your batter grainy. So how are you going to mitigate that? So that is kind of how I think. I play with it more with the garnish, but I love regular cheesecake. You're exactly right. So here's what I would do. Okay, what are our 3 flavors? If we have this one, it's got lemon, which goes great with ginger. It's got a little vanilla in it, and it's creamy. Maybe the crumb crust is like a 5-spice. So you have, not only do you have ginger in there, but whatever else goes in there. Mine has cinnamon, which I was like, cinnamon's boring. But it's just a standard recipe that tastes like it tastes like graham cracker, basically. But you can use any cookie. So you could use a ginger cookie. And then we're going to get into, on Sunday, pairing it with toppings, purees, fresh berries. You could do whipped cream, or you could do something crunchy. You could do some kind of, so maybe you have a crunchy crust, or you do the lady fingers. I would like to take a passion fruit cream or a lemon cream and pour it over the cold cheesecake in the pan and then unmold it once it's solidified. So that'll look really pretty. But then I could do decor. I could do a ginger ice cream. Maybe you want a warm sauce because you have a cold cake. Yeah, the vanilla sugar is infused, so you could do something with the ginger. Ginger snaps instead of graham crackers. Exactly. And you can make your own ginger snaps. So you could get as deep into it as you want. Pumpkin spice. You could take this basic recipe, and pumpkin tastes good with lemon too. Love 5-spice. So I love the Flavor Bible. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but you pick your one main flavor and then you build, not too many, but 3 to 5 flavors. And then you want different colors, textures, temperatures, and you build a plated dessert. Even if you slice this and put it on a plate, you should then have crunch, cool, light, dense. This is going to be dense, but very light when you cut through it with a fork. And I will tell you, I'm going to make a couple more for fun. And I found that Rose Levy also has a recipe where she takes basically this recipe and then folds in Italian meringue. So it's even lighter. And then your sugar in the Italian meringue could have freeze-dried fruit powder. It could have infused ginger. It could have all kinds of stuff. Mango passion fruit gel with caramelized ginger would be amazing. It is cheesecake night. The cheesecake has been in the oven now for about 10 minutes. And it's going to be in there for 50, at which point I'm going to turn off the oven and just leave it for 60 minutes. And then I'm going to pull it out, put it on a rack, let it cool, and then I'm going to cover it, but not to touch. You don't want the plastic to touch. I think Biscoff would be great, and the Flavor Bible would help us with that. So Biscoff is a flavor that has is it cinnamon, nutmeg, and maybe a little bit of ginger. So you have to pair all of those with something. Of course, I love berries, especially with cheesecake. What chocolate do you like for chocolate chip cookies? Ones that make good puddles? Well, I've been really into these lately because I've been eating them right out of the bag. But I really like these Ghirardelli 60%. They're like these really big chips. They're bigger than other chips. I don't know if you can tell. And they're very creamy and lovely, and they melt really nice. I often just use the Calabo chips, which aren't really chocolate chips. They don't have stabilizers in them. They're just couverture. But I also love the Guittard that is the dairy-free. And sometimes these are hard to find, but they have them at more places. And I did a gluten-free Another Galaxy brownie that was excellent, and these went on the top, and I love them more once they've been baked than I like them raw. And then I did discover that I don't really like the Ghirardelli as much as I thought I did, the white ones. And yeah, I have Nestle, but I think they're not very good. I don't think they're very good. They're very grainy. That's what I use. Yeah, I think the Ghirardelli makes a wonderful chocolate chip. And chocolate chips are very different than chocolate. You know, they have stabilizers in them that hold them together so they don't fall apart. The lemon pound cake recipe is still on my link tree, and I know for sure because I have all the POP Baking Club recipes at the top. I'm not going to take them off. Thank you. Dave found that on Facebook Marketplace, and somebody got it for a wedding present and never opened it. Now, the bad thing about that is that means that they also didn't oil it, so it has a bit of a crack, because wood is a natural product and it dries out. But it was cheap, and I really like it. It's really little, and I have this weird kitchen, and I have to have a center part. And actually, this is usually here. This is my guy that rolls around. I've had this from IKEA forever. And I use it for drying things and putting hot stuff on. It gives me good airflow when I'm cooling, and I push it over there so I can use my camera. Works really well with my setup. I love chopping chocolate bars and putting them in. The only thing you have to know is you're going to get a little shrapnel. If you're okay with that, that's cool. Van Leer chocolate chips. I got them at Rest. Oh, I like those chocolate chips as well. The thing is I've been retasting things I always thought I liked, and it's helping me refine what I think I like. So here's something hilarious, okay? I don't know if you can see this, and I know it's backwards, but this came from Milwaukee Area Technical College where I worked. And this is how they did their big batches of cheesecake for years. And this is a good, what's funny is when I got there, I was all like, I want to change everything, and I don't want to do anything with like shortening, and I want it to all be like high quality. Well, it turns out a lot of these recipes they're just kind of old school. So this is a cheesecake in Milwaukee, it says New York style, but whatever. But in it is cream cheese, and it says 6 pounds, like the pound sign. 6 pounds, pound sign. I think that's so cute. And then you add granulated sugar, and then eggs, and then whipping cream. That's it. And you scoop it over a graham cracker crust. So this is the kind of thing where you can steep the whipping cream because there's no sour cream. But again, you have to watch out for the acidity. So I could do this because that's something you can scale up and down. Someone asked earlier about a bake sale. Little cream cheese things, if you buy little containers, you can get the paper kind or you can get the aluminum kind. You can make a big batch of cream cheese. And I have a vegan recipe on my vegan thing for vegan cream cheese that I'm not joking. The crust is keto and vegan, is to die for. I did it for a wedding once for a friend of my friend's daughter. But then you get a little scooper and you can make like 100 little rounds and make really good money at bake sales. I think if I had to have a bake sale, I'd make really good money. OMG, Eli, tell us how the brownie tasting went. Did you guys have them, him and haw? No, I did not. For those of you who don't know, I just wrapped up a year's worth of making brownies. And I didn't make one every week or anything. I got really busy. I've really learned a lot this year in terms of managing TikTok and all my videos, which I edit and write and research all on my own. But I did over 25 recipes and they're amazing. But I had parameters: fudgy, really rich flavor, and a shiny crinkly crust. So there were a lot that just didn't fall into the parameters. No offense to the brownies. A lot of them were really good. But if they were cakey or chewy, I just left them out. No judgment. But what I ended up with was 6 top ones. But I had taken these big recipes and made them all just under 1,000 grams to fit into an 8x8 by 3 inch square pan from Crown Cookware. Love their pans, really square, really nice. When I went to do the playoff, which I have never made them all in one day, I've never eaten them side by side. Because who makes a bunch of brownie recipes and eats them all side by side, right? So I got the little 4-inch pans. And a lot of people have commented they look dry and all that. I understand. But in order to get all 6 of them so I could manage it, they all had to be baked within a range. I couldn't leave one super gooey and one not. So they were all very similar. Everything was like very strict and similar. I have always liked the Outrageous Brownie by Ina Garten, and I've made it a lot. But when I ran classrooms, and when I wanted large volume, I did the 6th Street. So I did them all, and honestly, I don't have judgment. I don't care who wins. I literally don't care. I just took notes. I was like, this one's darker, this one's like, ooh, and I picked them up, and I was like, ooh, this one's like, you ever pick up lemons at the store, and you're like, this one weighs nothing, and this one's heavy, and that's the one you want? So I was like, oh, some of these are heavy, and they're literally all 450 grams. So I could side by side look. You know, the Brave Tarts was like this tall, and it was dark, and it was gorgeous, and it was so beautiful. And Ina's was like that too, but a little browner, not quite so dark, but like richer brown. And then I cracked them open, and I was like, Ina's just kept giving Ina, right? And you made them like I wish I had brownies. We ate them all up. We gobbled them all up. So right away I was like, wow, I thought the perfect was so great, but like, let's just move that over. And then King Arthur, I was like, it was lightweight. It was a little boring. It just didn't stand up. So then I got to the top 3, and then we left it. I left it another day. I really gave it time, but it was like, no question, Ina's was great. However, I would like to now do either just Brave Tart and Ina side by side, or all 4 again. Not the 2, not King Arthur and Perfect, but a lot of people are upset about the Forever, okay? But it was far below. I mean, who knew? Like, if I'd eaten it on any given day, I would have been like, it's awesome, I love it. It was so bizarre and so informative and so interesting. So if you guys can get those little pans, you make the recipe 450 grams. So you basically cut it down because it is in grams. It's really easy to do. Can you use other citrus juice in place of the lemon, wondering if orange has enough acidity? Orange does not have enough acidity, and that is a great question. So in my 4-hour exam, I had to make an agar curd, and that sets up in 30 minutes because I had to make a stacked cake, and I didn't want to use lemon curd that takes all night, or lemon cream takes all night to solidify. However, I had students who were like, I'll help. These students would scale, and I'm talking a 4-hour exam. You have, I posted pictures of my speed rack, because you take one tray, has all your tools and your ingredients, and you go like that. That's how you get it done. And I mean, those exams, you don't get done until 2 minutes before your time is up. And I practiced it 9 times all the way through. And if you scaled that lemon juice in advance, it just didn't work. It lost its oomph. And I thought, I researched it, and I was like, is this in my mind? I talked to a ton of chefs about it. Not only do you need to squeeze the lemon juice at the last moment, but you also have to know that it has a higher acidity than orange juice. And that's good to know, because you can just Google it. Lime juice, lemon juice, and orange juice are all different. I would argue there are people have told me about orange products that you can add to water and reconstitute will give you that acidity that you need. Or perhaps you could reduce it, but it's always going to be sweeter than lemon juice. Imagine taking a sip of lemon juice. It makes your mouth go tart, right? And then a sip of orange juice. Completely different. That is exactly what's going to happen in the bowl. Is it going to be bad? No. It's just not going to give you the brightness and the balance that you're looking for that cloyingly fat, sweet. It's not overly sweet. It's overly rich and fatty, this cheesecake, okay? It's a custard that's really creamy. Lime juice, again, I would just check the acid level. If you're ever wondering how much pectin is in fruit, you just look it up. There's tons of resources for it, and that will tell you how much it gels. Because some fruits are surprisingly devoid of pectin. They hardly have any. And others have a lot. That's why some things like apples have a ton of pectin. That's tart. Pectin's tart. So you can look up the acid levels of your favorite citrus as well. The New York Times app has tons of brownie recipes, and you are right, Lauren. The reason that I'm loving the recommendations is because I actually get overwhelmed. I mean, they all have 10 brownie recipes and 10 chocolate chip cookie recipes. So I love a recommendation by somebody who can tell me why they like it. And I have like 100 recommendations for the CCC extravaganza. It's crazy. I love Brave Tart. It came in number 2. And you know what? I don't recommend people buy books unless you're really going to use them, and I can recommend that book. It's a really nice book. I like it, and I really respect the way she works. Some of you get a little... Let me tell you what I think. If you guys recommend somebody for me to do their recipe, and I try to be polite about it, but if I go to their website, I go to their videos, I go and see what they're doing, and they have their hair down, they're plopping their ingredients, they've smushed their parchment in it, and they say that ingredients are optional, like major ingredients that change the batter, I will not use their recipe. It is not a judgment. It's just not dialed in enough for me. I don't have time to test all these recipes that fail. I want to know what the best ones are, and then I'm going to break those down, percentage, method, and I'm going to start to show you visually how these things compare. It's not so much my opinion what makes a good brownie or a cookie. It's the fact that everyone likes it, and I'm trying to give you the words to understand why. So when you look at another recipe, you can decide if it's good based on your ability to grow in your understanding of how these things work together. You'll be able to read a recipe and be like, that looks good. Or, that's out of the range, that's strange. A lot of you notice this recipe has a high percentage of sour cream, and you would be right. Now in the hands of somebody else, I'd be very nervous. In Rose's hands, I'm completely comfortable. I know that this recipe, and that is what I excel in. I actually excel in taking what sounds like the most boring recipe in the world and giving you a version that is mind-blowing. And I'm going to throw down the gauntlet. If you guys think that this sucks, or you don't like it, or you're like hyperbole, you're over the top, stop exaggerating, tell me. But if you make this recipe, I think that you will think what I think. It's that different, it's that special, and she is that in control of her ingredients. And that's what I'm looking for in a chocolate chip cookie. I want to know who makes a chocolate chip cookie that blows my mind, that when I go to bed, I can't wait to wake up and eat it. Like it's sitting over here, and I'm going to run over here and make my tea, and I'm going to have that cookie. And maybe I'm not even going to give them away, because like sometimes I don't give away stuff I really like. So that's what I'm looking for. Chocolate chip cookies you guys recommend that are super popular, and then I'm going to analyze them. I'm not going to judge them. I'm going to analyze them, and I'm going to tell you so that you can learn how to analyze them. I'm empowering all of you to think like your ingredients. That's what's so fun about this. I've been baking since forever, but I've never had as much fun as I'm having now when these things are broken down. And I'm like, I'm excited to move the egg. I'm excited to like dial this in and make it even better. I'm excited because I'm always excited. So I'm going to do a couple things on Sunday. Okay, I've made the CC bread from week 1 probably 8 times. And I'm glad you bring that up, Olivia. That recipe is so good. It's just so good. If you like a chewy, rich, buttery, beautiful, perfect cookie. And that was at a bakery. I can't say enough good things about it. If you knew the chefs that developed that, you would respect that cookie too. And it is really good. I'm going to be looking for, I got to develop the parameters, but probably a crunchy version, what's the best? And then maybe like chewy in the center with a little crunchy around the edge. We'll see. A lot of people want the brown butter, and I'm curious to see if they're dry or if the recipe developers replace the water in the right way. And I'm going to actually do a quick video telling you guys all what recipes I have, what my plan is, and then I need more input from you. Because I want you all to be involved, and I'm going to try to commit to doing 1 cookie a week. And then when I feel like we've gotten through enough, or they're getting repetitive, or I've maybe gotten to the bottom of the barrel, which I don't think is possible, you know. Yeah, so that's why, Lauren, I think I need to define the parameters as, you know, this makes a crunchy cookie and this is why, and this makes a chewy cookie and this is why. And I'm going to take all of your input and probably have categories. So we'll have subcategories. And with cookies, it's way easier to do than brownies because I can get them all in my freezer and then bake them for the testing. So it's going to be way easier for me. Just so you all know, doing 6 brownies in one day, even though they were small, and then the editing, it was hard. It was fun, but I tend to get lost in stuff. So I think I spent 30 hours on 3 videos. I mean, too much, but I had a blast. Your analytical decomposing of the recipe is amazing. Thank you. And that's all I'm interested in doing. I'm not interested in saying it's good or bad. I'm trying to learn to give you words so that you can decide if you think you want to try it and if you think it's good or bad. Because I've learned if I say I don't like an ingredient or I say it's bad, I find out that that's not a good way to approach it. I have to just say what the ingredient does and let you guys, because there are ingredients that are different all over the world. I can't give those ingredients judgment. I can just tell you what they do. Brown butter for me makes a soft cookie. Well, actually makes a crumbly cookie if the water has not been accounted for, because the brown butter has no water in it. But I agree with you, if it's done properly, that's why the Brave Tart one is so good. I think it is the brown butter, but she's balanced it so beautifully, and I actually think she's the best at it. I always chill cookies. You have to allow the flour and the starches in your cookie batter or dough to get hydrated. You just have to. And you can't speed up Mother Nature. It takes a few hours or overnight. I've never got a brown butter cookie to be soft and not grainy. That's because your recipe, your formula, doesn't have enough moisture in it. So they didn't account for the fact that they boiled off all the water. And I believe that more people are starting to understand that brown butter is devoid of water. Thank you. I always wear my Carhartts. These are insulated. So until it gets warm, I'm in these until it gets warm because I'm always cold. When you brown butter for chocolate chip cookies or anything, you are losing water. So the only trick is how much water is in your butter, because American butter has more water than European butter. So you're going to have to find out, and yes, you're going to have to replace it. You're definitely going to have to replace it. Yeah, I think it's a good idea to weigh it. However, you are getting into your solids and stuff, like, did you keep them all? Were some stuck to the bottom of the pan? So I would be careful and make sure that you're now not adding too much water. Just make sure that you got all the solids, that you stirred them back in. There are people who use brown butter where they filter out all the solids. They don't want those milk solids and proteins in their baked goods, believe it or not. A lot of French baking just has brown butter that's been cleared. You know, it's been sieved. So anyway, baking time is also very important. 1 minute or less can give it a completely different cookie. I agree, and I'm going to reiterate that I bake them from frozen, but I slack them different amounts of time. Depending on if I want crispy cookie, I'm going to use metal and parchment. If I want a chewy cookie, I'm going to use a Silpat and a double pan. Or maybe even on the crispy one, I want to get crispy and really nice quickly, but then I'm going to double pan it so it doesn't get too dark. I don't have a convection oven, but if you do, crispy cookies are going to be your jam. Let me show you my cake Bible. This is a cake Bible I bought in 1993. And I taught myself how to bake out of it. And look, it is falling apart. It's in parts. I taught myself and I worked a cake business out of my home for 12 years. So it fell apart. Doesn't matter to me. But just because I love her, I bought the new one. And it's beautiful and it's bigger and it's a little updated. So she's got the best blogs, she has the best videos. I love how she lays things out. I even like how this is red and it's bulleted and she still has her charts and everything. So if you're going to get a book and you want to learn how to make cakes and understand them exactly the way I explain them, she's your recipe developer. She understands the home baker more than anybody else. Love the Cake Bible. Yeah, I have go-to recipes. Are you kidding? I found, I have that juicer, that Hamilton Beach juicer, which is the one I like to do my lemons with because you get the most and cleanest and I love it. But I used to have a restaurant, so I bought that when I had a restaurant, but I kept it. But I found one at a flea market once and I cleaned the heck out of it and my friend's been using it ever since. So they last forever. You can find the old-fashioned kind. Well, the cheesecake recipe is really good. Okay, so I did my wedding cakes out of here for years. I use her neoclassic buttercream because I didn't have a thermometer and I was scared to use one. For 12 years, I used the neoclassic butter cream. How should I approach the recipes? They look different than the typical recipes. Are you saying they look like this? They look like this? If they look like this, which I think they do, it's because I've converted them from cups and spoons to grams, and that's the conversion, and then this is the batch size. This is what I change when I change how much I want to make. If I want to do a double batch, I just double it to 200%. This is what I call the formulator. I'm actually getting a free version on my website you guys will be able to use. So once you convert these numbers, you'll be able to go in and say, I don't want to do a half sheet pan. I just want to do 1,000 grams, and you'll be able to change it yourself, which is, I think it's a game changer, life-changing. Honestly, I'd recommend literally anything out of here, but the Downy Yellow Cake is amazing. And all of them are good. I've made so many. But the neoclassic I made for years. That was like my Italian. All I did was either do yolks or whites. Those were my two frostings, icings that I did. Oh, the raspberry puree that I'm doing. Okay, so let me show you a couple things. So these are frozen raspberries. Okay, they've been out. They're getting room temperature. I know I can use a juicer. I know I can use harder things, but I like the long, slow way. These are going to go over a sieve like this, over a Cambro, a bigger one, over a Cambro, covered in plastic overnight in the fridge. And then tomorrow, on video, I'm going to mush them until all the seeds come out, but I get all the pulp and juice. Then I'm going to reduce it, add what I think is a good amount of sugar, sweetness, to pair to the cheesecake, and a little bit of lemon to pop it up. And then it's going to thicken because I'm going to cook it till it's thick, reduce it till it's thick. And then I am going to pour that onto a cheesecake. It's going to be beautiful. So that is something that I literally got out of this baking book, okay? That's one thing. Oh, it's right here. It opened up. And you know what's funny is it's opening up to the pages I use because they're cracked. The lemon curd is literally how I did. And I would, are there notes in here? Usually I have the numbers where I multiplied it by like 10. So I've done a lot. I haven't found a clunker, if I can put it that way, and there are many I would like to try. So it is, I haven't found a clunker, if I can put it that way, and there are many I would like to try. So it is, beyond a shadow of a doubt, one of the most effective books that has ever been written. Ever. What do you do when they give cup instructions without saying if it's packed or not? I don't use any recipes in cup or tablespoon or teaspoon format, or ounces, or sticks. I use Jessica Reed's book to convert. And I did that today with my graham cracker recipe. Okay, this is what it looked like. This is what it looked like. 3/4 cup sucrose. So I had to convert it today. And you look it up, 3/4 cup is 200 grams or whatever. And those are right there for my graham cracker. And they are in grams. I mean, the trust is important. And like I said, when I say and endorse a baker, you can trust them. And if I keep hearing the same names over and over and over again, and I'm not using their recipes, it's just a low key. I just am not going to use recipes from people who have their hair down, are plopping things in, have long fingernails with nail. I'm just not going to because I can't even watch their videos. The idea of what is wrong with that for me is foundational. And I don't know what else to say about that. Yeah, wasting food is a terrible thing. When I worked at L'Oreal, for all of you who live in Chicago and love L'Oreal, let me tell you something great about them. So at L'Oreal, every day a manager would go into the walk-in, and they didn't have freezers, would go into the walk-in cooler and spend about 45 minutes organizing and pulling things that needed to be made. If fruit was old, we made jam. If vegetables were getting old, we roasted them. So that is how the French teachers teach. It's how the French system works. When you have old ingredients or leftover egg whites, you make meringue. If you have leftover yolks, you make creams. If you have things that can go in the oven that are leftovers and little trinkets, you use your ingredients before they go bad. I don't understand why anyone in a business is allowed to have fake fingernails, which you can get in your food, their hair down, tons of jewelry, and tons of makeup, and I don't understand it. Plus, you're getting so hot and it's such a hard job, I just don't get it. And I love makeup and hair, but not when I'm working. It's a health code violation everywhere. It's a health violation everywhere, but let me tell you, there was a guy at Tartine who put a video on Instagram where he was literally taking morning buns for service, ready to eat, and he was dunking them in sugar. And I was like, that's horrible. And you can't believe how many people were like, it's fine. If you wash your hands are fine. All I can say is, it's not the law. You're not following the rules. And I don't think they wash their hands. Because if they're doing that, they're trying to prove a point. I don't trust them. People on TikTok are a close-knit group. You guys are all amazing and you all want to be here and everyone is nice to me. And I'll tell you what, I don't have thin skin. I just don't like mean people. So if you're going to be mean to me, take it somewhere else. I would question, why are you being mean to anybody on the internet? I have never said a negative. I see people all the time that I don't think are doing good stuff. I don't say a word. I mean, what the heck? So people are mean, and they're mean here. So I just kind of like to mind my own business and stick to baking, but I have strong opinions, and I am more than happy to debate and discuss and move the ball. But it has to be intelligent and thoughtful and very respectful. And everybody who follows me, I swear to you, you're all like that. I just absolutely love it. I appreciate all you so much. You have no idea. Saved my life. You're my community. I was in Star Market and ordered turkey at the deli counter, and she was slicing it on the cheese slicer. I know. Oh well. Who cares? Who cares about allergies and food preferences and religious beliefs? Who cares? I mean, it's just like, and you know what? That's management. That is management. It's 100% management. So if I started in the cake Bible, I would definitely do the neoclassic buttercream, the raspberry puree, and I would do the yellow cake. And let me see exactly what it's called. And you guys are doing the cheesecake. I recommend that. Her cakes are all so good, but the all occasion downy yellow butter cake is really, really good. And it's a reverse creaming method, which is interesting, and I think you'll like it. So I would start with a cake, and then I would make a filling or frosting for it. And, you know, I remember, I always say back in the day, but back in the day, like this cake, that was unusual to see such a pretty cake in an American baking book. And then this, I mean, like I feel emotionally about these cakes. Fondant with Swiss dots and marzipan roses. I mean, like I dreamed about it. I just wanted to do every single one of that. Look at, she did, I forget what you call that flower. I used to have these. They come up in the spring. All right, let's go check our cake, and I'm gonna turn off the oven. All right, so we are at the end of 50 minutes, and I'm not gonna open the door because I don't wanna let the moisture out. Actually I am, because I'm gonna jiggle it, but I'm gonna go fast. Let's just see. See how it's a little jiggly? Can you see that? It still moves around a little bit. It's gonna solidify in the refrigerator. So what I'm gonna do is turn off the oven, turn it off, and then I'm gonna set the timer for 60 minutes. And that is going to stay in there. And then I'm gonna put it on a rack. And as I said before, I don't put it on a rack on my countertop. I would like to put it on here because the airflow will help it cool down quickly, but not rapidly, not like in a bad way. All right, so there's my cheesecake. So your jam is gonna go in a pot, and you're gonna loosen it up and warm it up, and then you're going to put it through a sieve and take out the chunks and then eat them separately, because I'm gonna eat every single one of these apricots. And then that is going to be something I use on top of my cheesecake. I'm gonna put berries. And you know when you put berries like on a tart, and you go to the store, and if you get a beautiful fruit tart, they have like a gelée on the top. That's basically what it is. They're all a little bit different, but basically they make commercial versions, and you can make sugar syrups that are higher in sugar than they are in water, but that keeps the moisture of the berry in. So I'm gonna use fresh berries. I might make the lady fingers. I'm gonna make some other ones, and then I'm gonna show you how I kind of put them all together. And I'm gonna write down the flavor Bible, and I'm gonna go ahead and do a little flavor work, and I would like you all to do flavor work as well. I'm gonna do ginger. I'm gonna look into the Biscoff and what the flavor profile exactly spice combo is, 5 spice. I'm gonna do a few things. And I'll come up with some ideas, and I want you guys to come up with some ideas. And I want you to pretend like you're taking this cheesecake and you're gonna make a plated dessert with the cheesecake using 3 to 5 flavors with a main flavor. The cheesecake's your main item, component. It's creamy and dense and light, right? At the same time. Your fork goes through it easily. So you're gonna add some crunch, you're gonna add warm, or you're gonna add ice cream, or you're gonna add something with a little bit of chunk in it, like ginger ice cream that you can feel the nubs. I don't know. You're gonna do some things, and you're gonna think about what you would add, and I am as well. And we're gonna have a little bit of fun. We'll just talk about that. Marua said, I made pastry cream for the first time and it came out perfect, except it tasted eggy. Does everyone know why hers tasted eggy? Most likely And I just made a post today about making a lemon curd, cream, etc. Anytime you cook anything too fast or too high, that egg proteins are cooking too fast, then it tastes like egg. So you want to go slower, maybe use a bain-marie, lower the temperature, take the pot off of the burner as often as you need to. The slower you go, the more you'll avoid that flavor. Okay, so let me think. Okay, so we got cream cheese in here. In our recipe tonight for the cheesecake, we had sucrose. Sucrose adds sweetness. It creates fine air cells. It's hygroscopic, so it'll retain a lot of the water. It balances the acidity, and because our sour cream's a little acidic and our cream cheese is a little tangy. What else do we have in here? The cornstarch is insoluble. It doesn't do anything. That's why when you add it to something cold, it clumps. It needs to be warmed up to become what it's going to become. So when you heat it too, it starts to change, and that's when it begins to gelatinize all the stuff around it. So as it heats, it starts to swell, and then it starts to grab onto the moisture that's around it, which causes the thickening. And it's supposed to be odorless and flavorless, but some people claim they don't like the flavor of it. So that helps. The cornstarch is going to help with emulsification and creaminess. But I'm definitely going to do a little experimentation, so I'll do one with and one without. All right, the whole egg, using whole egg is great, but you could find recipes like the one we just made for the cheesecake having just yolks. And then that is going to have more lecithin and emulsifiers that occur naturally, so you might not need the cornstarch. But in this recipe, it's whole eggs, which does give us the yolks, but it also gives us more water. The lemon juice gives us the tanginess, the tart that's going to cut through the richness of the fat and balance everything out. But it also adds more water. There's more water, and you have to account for that. And then our sour cream has no less than 18% fat, no less than 14.4% of the milk fat after it's been made. And the one that I use, Daisy brand, has no guar gums or any fillers or whey or anything added to it. So you have to read the ingredient label because they offset each other. The more whey, the less fat or water it's got. And then, okay, yeah, we covered a lot. Yeah, I think that going really slow, using a bain-marie, and it could take 20 minutes to cook. Just don't worry about it. Go slow. Go really slow. If you aren't here on Sunday, I will edit the video from Sunday and I will post it on YouTube as quickly as I can so you can catch up. And on Sunday, though, we are going to be voting for next week's recipe. And I'm definitely going to have a biscuit with laminated dough on there and maybe still the creme brulee, and then we'll do something else. And I'm taking suggestions. All right, so this is so funny. This is my folder that's in my thing, chocolate chip cookie. So more than a year ago, so over a year ago, I did my own chocolate chip cookie thing. I have like 20 in the formulator. And I mean everything from, I did the New York Times, Valrhona, Jacques Torres, the one, because he's done a bunch, the second version, New York Times, first version, New York Times, second version. I don't even know which one that one is. Olive oil chocolate chip cookies, 7 spoon. Barbara Bush's favorite, Doubletree signature from the hotel. Maggie Austin's, David Leibovitz, chocolate skillet. I could go on. The chocolate crinkle one, fig tahini and milk chocolate chip. Beyond Frostings, Broma Bakery. Bake New York, another David Leibovitz. This is this King Arthur little recipe book I got years ago. It's gold. Dandelion chocolate. That was dark. Sally's baking blog. Oh, so many. But anyway, I got a lot more today. So I've already got a head start on this CCC extravaganza. So if you're into the extravaganza, I'm going to try to do one a week and join everybody in deciding and helping me decide what the parameters are and what I should do. I want all the extravaganzas. You know, At some point, if I made enough money, if I could start making money and whatnot, I do need an assistant. I need someone to scale and help with dishes and editing, and it's just too much, and I can't explain why. It's just, don't be scared, Eli. I am a Scorpio. I'm hardcore, man. I just had somebody do my whole chart. I'm intense. What can I say? I mean, I would love all extravaganzas. I just don't have the time. I swear I could do 10 recipes a day if I could get them edited. I mean, I have so many recipes and so much to teach, just not enough time. I want to be able to pay an assistant. That's something I feel really strongly about, but I've had a lot of people say that obviously there would probably be people, Johnson & Wales is nearby, and there'd probably be people who want to stage for me, and I would love the help, but I just hate not being able to pay people. I think it's highway robbery. You guys are all the best. I adore you. Thank you. I adore you guys. You have no idea. I don't think anything's that you can't insult me. I'm telling you. I tell people you can't hurt my feelings. Just, I need people to be like truthful and direct because I'm very direct, but I don't take anything. I'm not sensitive like that. You know what? When I went to pastry school, I'm telling you, it was life-changing because it's like I found my people. I love the conversation. And one day I could pay with food. You know what? I actually could. That's a great idea. We could do a trade. I'm really good at trading. A lot of the stuff I have, a lot of the artwork I have, I did through trading a lot. I did dessert buffets and I did cakes and stuff like that. Okay, I was going to tell you one more thing and then we should get going. So I'm going to take that cheesecake out in 39 minutes. It's going to cool. I'm going to wrap it properly and I'm going to get it in the fridge. Tomorrow, I'm going to commence making videos, and anything that I make is for you guys to consume, to go with what I'm doing. I don't post anything that's kind of like outside the norm of the subject unless it's like a Saturday, which I don't get a lot of views. So typically that's when I do my one-off videos. I'm glad that you're all here. All right, well, you guys are going to try this cheesecake if you make it at home. It cannot be frozen, but it can stay in your refrigerator for up to 7 days. So that's very helpful. Was I going to tell you anything else? All right, so this is part 1 of Cheesecake Week. It is Wednesday evening. I'm almost done with the cheesecake, and I'm going to come back on Sunday at noon Eastern Standard Time. And I know it's a holiday, but if you miss it, you can catch it on repeat on YouTube. And then I'm just going to do a bunch of fun stuff, and then we'll all pick next week's recipe. And we'll just keep doing this because I'm having a blast. I appreciate your support. And I hope that you're all learning a lot. And if there's anything I can fill in, anything you want to do, just DM me. I am over inundated with a lot of info. So I really just ask that you keep it short and quick and just don't feel bad. If I get back to you, that's great. But I just don't have the mental capacity to absorb too much more. I'm kind of at my limit. But that doesn't mean I don't want to hear from all of you, and I love suggestions and ideas, and I want to hear from you because I'm not doing this just to hear myself talk. I'm doing it because I really want to empower you all to become practitioners of pastry, to learn a little bit more every day, to grow exponentially every time you walk up to your counter with your ingredients and you proceed with the recipe, that you walk away a little more confident, a little cleaner, neater, a little more in control of the process, because you're going to see the results in your finished product. It's just going to keep getting better, and you can be just as good as any professional because there's no difference between home baking and professional baking. There's just knowledge, and it's all out there. I just am trying to present it in a way that I would to a professional seeking student. I'm giving it to you exactly the same way. And you can take it or leave it. You can do with it what you want. But it also does sort of eke into your own personal life. It can make you more organized. It can give you a lot of things to work with. And I also want to say that many of you have reached out and told me what this means to you in terms of what's going on in your life, or that you've been re-inspired to start baking again, or you've been frustrated by baking before, and I've given you some ideas and skills to make it more manageable, and that you're doing it again, and that there is joy and love in this space. And I can't tell you how much the encouragement really, truly helps me, because what I'm doing is time consuming, it's physically demanding, and it is tiring. but there's no stopping me. I'm not going to quit. I just am telling you that I appreciate anybody here who takes the time to let me know how this affects them. It's deeply meaningful to me and to others because I've noticed that a lot of you are getting to know each other outside of these lives, and I think that's a beautiful thing. So it's all good. Love it. Anything else? You guys are the best. All right. Happy baking. I will see you on Sunday, and watch out for my videos because I'm going to be focused on the cheesecake accoutrement. I'm going to be doing all kinds of fun little things. Some graham cracker crust from scratch, some lady fingers, and some toppings, and I will see you all on Sunday. I'm excited to be here too. All right, I'm going to cut it off. I hate goodbyes. Great. Thank you. All righty, take care, everybody.